Whatever stage you're at with your trading, it's important to stop and gain perspective before planning your next move. Take a break from the charts and join in the discussion with our hosts, Jason Graystone and Akil Stokes, as they share insights, opinions and expertise on all things trading. Grab a coffee, pull up a chair and join the Trader Coffee Break.
Guys, we are having a technological meltdown today, but I think we're here, and I'm Jason Graystone, and Akil Stokes is now on the screen. Oh, apologies.
I jinxed it. I told you. Whenever I say that things are going smoothly, this is an absolute, it's going to happen. It's kind of like trading, right? Whenever we say this trade has to win, it always loses.
Man, this has been such a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. I don't know why Zoom likes to challenge us like this, but it seems to have a different problem every time. Appreciate you guys waiting if you've been watching this live. Chris is here, but Chris doesn't sleep anyway or do anything other than stay in our rooms and follow our stuff. So that's awesome, man. Right, this week's topic, I'm totally thrown off guard. So we're talking about a question that came to you, Akil, right?
Yeah, it was a question. I don't remember it exactly, but it had to do with, it's a trader we're working with who is learning how to trade. And I guess was also thinking about starting some other businesses as well. And I don't know the specifics of what these businesses are, but was asking the question, hey, do you think, I guess it's a wise decision, or is it possible, or I guess not possible, but do you think it's a wise decision to kind of work on my trading at the same time as my other businesses, or should I focus on one before the other? And I thought it was a interesting conversation because we both have multiple businesses where we both trade, and our journeys, I guess, are a little bit different. So I guess starting off, what would you say? Like, when it comes to focusedness, should a trader concentrate on, hey, I just want to learn how to trade, get this out the way first? Or if they do have other business interest on the side, is it okay to do those and follow through with those as well?
Yeah, in my opinion, first of all, it would obviously depend on your situation and what phase you're at in your wealth building journey. For instance, trading is a wealth acceleration vehicle. So it's just like putting your money into a savings account, putting your money into an investment account, or putting your money into a trading account and using your skill to either put it in the right investments or put it into your trading account and trade the money and grow the money that's coming in. But if you're new to business and you're relatively young, and you're just launching something, a lot of effort and energy needs to go into launching that thing. And the most important part is bringing money in. So, the more money you bring in, the more money you can then distribute into your various wealth building accounts, like your investments, trading, etc. So I would say, it doesn't make sense to focus on trading first, if that's the options. You can definitely focus on them both, but it depends what phase you're at with the hustle, the business. If you're launching, I would put all of your energy into that, get it launched. Then once you start reaping the rewards of that, you've got more time and focus to focus on how to grow the income that you're bringing in from that. So that's kind of my overview of without knowing too many details about where they're at in the stages. That's kind of my top-down advice, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, it depends on the situation and where you're at journey. But it's if you're at the beginning phases of both journeys, I think it's going to be very hard to do both. Because, like you mentioned, whenever you're at the beginning phases of anything, that's when you're giving kind of your biggest investment, your most focus, your most energy to kind of get that ball rolling. And we all seen like the graphics of like the person pushing like the big old boulder, right? The acceleration process of pushing it takes the most energy. And then once it gets rolling, it gets easier and easier. So if you're trying to push both of these boulders at the same time, it's going to be very difficult when you're splitting that energy. Whereas if Jason said, once you have one kind of rolling, rolling, you can kind of start pushing the other while keeping eyes on the first one. I think something else that plays a role too, and I suppose this would have to do with kind of where you're at in your business is, what type of business are you running? Are you a sole proprietor? Is it just you? Are you the only one in control of this business? And do you need to be hands-on and very active to make sure this business is profitable? Or are you more of an entrepreneur? Have you set it up where you're more of the employer, where it's like, hey, this business is running, I don't actually need to be there to run it. I've got employees or whatever you delegate or automate to do your bidding. And now you're allowed to focus more information or more attention on your trading. That plays a big role as well. I know a big change in my mindset is like, I didn't know the difference between kind of a self-employed and business owner, entrepreneur. I remember I read a book called Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, and he split it up into 4 quadrants because up to that moment, I was self-employed and I thought that I was like a business owner and I was just doing everything I could. I was working like 1,000,000 hours a day and I'm like, yeah, I own my own business. I'm doing this. And I remember in that book, he said, hey, it talked about achieving financial freedom. Are you or freedom of time and whatnot? Are you really achieving freedom of time if, yes, you have your own business. Yes, you don't have to kind of, report to anyone. You can do what you want, but can you really? Because will your business stay afloat if you don't invest those hours? And I'm like, man, like, no, like, no, like I'm still a slave to the game, which is something I want to get out of. Where on the other hand, a business owner or an entrepreneur, their business can survive, and this is wealth in general, right? Your business can survive no matter how many hands-on hours you're putting in. You're more like a checkup where you come in each day and monitor and, okay, everything's going good, or if something important comes up, you got to make the hard decision. But you don't require that active amount of time. So it depends on where you're going with business. If you're going to be self-employed and you have to put in all the hours yourself, it's probably going to be very hard to also invest time in trade, because at the beginning stages of your trading, it takes a massive amount of time to be successful. But if you're someone who's kind of just like sitting on the background, everything is kind of going okay without you, and typically this is in the more mature parts or stages of a business, now you can invest more time in that trading aspect and do both at once. So a lot of it depends on the dynamics of what you're doing on both ends, I would say.
Yeah. And there is a way that you can compromise, like there is a way that you can have both, and I'll talk about that in a sec, but what you're saying is bang on. There's a lot of people out there who are just like busy, and there was a quote. I can't remember the guy's name who said the quote. I think it was a guy called Robin Sharma who wrote. It was a book called The Monk Who Sold His Lamborghini or something like that, right? And it was like, don't confuse activity with productivity. Most people are simply being busy, and that's a great quote, because there seems to be this misconception that rich people figure it out when they're rich, and they master their time wisely when they're rich, but actually they don't. They do it before they get rich. So the poor people, the people with poor mindset, spend time to gain money, whereas wealthy people and the successful people, they spend money to gain time. And you think about, I was thinking about this earlier. I know a couple of billionaires, and I know obviously there's a lot of famous billionaires who they spend a significant amount of their net worth on a private jet. Now think about that. Whenever I've seen any of these guys asked why they buy a private jet, the one answer that's common across them all is, it saves me time. It gets me from there to there, and it saves me time. Now think about that. Like buying a 30, 70, 100 million pound jet, which is a significant investment, which is a terrible asset for most people, right? Yes. Complete liability. They are buying it for that one thing. So if all of those smart billionaires are spending money to reduce the amount of time, that says something. That says something. So there's productivity hacks at certain times and certain stages along your journey. But the key is to know that you're doing the right thing at the right time. And if you're doing everything at once, you're not putting all of that fuel, like a rocket, right? When a rocket takes off, you've got that big orange thing in the middle that's filled with fuel, and they burn all of that fuel to get the thing out into orbit. When it gets to about 28,000 kilometers an hour, that's when they like switch the engines off, and it can go out into orbit without coming back down to Earth. That's what you need to be doing. So if you aren't in a position where you can do that, then you're going to be basically gaining too much weight and not have enough fuel, and you will burn out. You will not be able to take off. Having said that, you can actually make trading your business. So I know a analyst who's a very successful analyst. He's worked on about 3 prop firms around London, and right now he's working on his own technical trading. He's becoming a trader himself because he's only been an analyst. And what he's doing is he's sharing information and teaching people how to be an analyst for money. And then the money goes into his account, and he's trading and he's teaching people the charts. So he's actually educating people on becoming an analyst, which is in trading. So he's getting money for his business on the side, which is trading. So you can have both. And there's many other ways that you can make money sharing your trading advice and, you know, your education so far. So you can do that as well.
But Jason, if you're teaching people how to trade, doesn't that mean you're not a good trader in your own right? Isn't that what if you really knew how to trade, you wouldn't teach others, which is the stupidest thing I ever heard, because it tells that people like that don't have business mindsets, right? People that have true business mindsets are always looking to monetize something. Now, you know, there's a level, like, you're not kind of, you know, pinpointing everything, but you're always looking for opportunities to monetize, and you're always looking for opportunities to monetize things that you are doing anyway, because that's the easiest way, where it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. But going back to the private jet thing, I don't know if I told you this, there was a time where I was thinking about getting a private jet. I wasn't going to buy one, but we were going to lease one, whatever like that, because my first private jet experience was so amazing. They laughed at me. I was newbie. I was taking a private jet to someone else's private jet to, I think it was a quick trip to like Washington, D.C., which is like a 45-minute flight from where I'm at. So of course I show up to the place. I'm used to regular airports. I show up like 2 hours early. And I'm ready to get, you know, checked and frisked and take my shoes off and bomb checked and all the normal stuff. Yeah. And like, we get there and it's like, they're like, dude, why are you here? Like, you just walk right in. And that was I'm like, and this was at a time I was traveling a lot. And like you said, I'm used to banking in an extra 2 hours of travel for all the dumb stuff you have to go through, 2 hours on the front end to get there, an hour on the back end to kind of like wait for your bags. And like, I hate wasting that time. So having the ability to kind of I show up like 5 minutes before, show them my stuff and walk in. I'm like, dude, this is amazing. Like, no hassle. I just saved 3 hours of my life. And I'm like, what can I do with those 3 hours? I could do this and this and this. It makes perfect sense, where before it's like, I'm like you, like, I'm like, man, a private jet, like, that's a dumb investment. Like a boat, that's a bad investment. But when you realize how much time it saves and then opportunity costs, what can you do with that time? It just makes sense. Sorry to get off track there, but
it's true,
I think it is. Yeah. And, you know, going back to the trading business thing, I think that is something that a lot of traders should consider, right? Most of the traders I know that we work with a handful who are already successful. They've got millions of dollars that they can dump into the market, right? But for the most part, we're dealing with kind of most people that are kind of in the beginning of their journey, where, hey, they don't have enough money to trade full time, but they have enough where they can create supplemental income, or maybe they have future plans of trading full time. And I know the business aspects gets poo-pooed a lot, but it is a way that you can make supplemental income. And again, it's income that could be put directly into your trading account, which allows you to hit those next levels and compound even faster, which basically just accelerates how quickly you can get to your ultimate goal. So don't feel any shame in doing it. And there's so many different ways you can go about it. But any little side hustle you can create. I mean, even if, again, always mention like, hey, be an Uber driver or a DoorDash or, whatever you can do to make some side money. However, you can accelerate that account quicker once you've mastered the skill of trading, mastered in air quotes, of course. That's going to be a benefit to you.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, going back to the point about teaching, and if you're good at trading, why teach other people? I got into trading because it was part of a greater wealth acceleration journey. I love money, and I'm going to get as much of it as possible. It's as simple as that, right? So teaching people how to build wealth and charging them for it is great for me. And yes, I'm absolutely going to do that. Second of all, when you're trading, it's very lonely, very narcissistic. It's just you. It's just a very selfish game, and you become this like you kind of long for fulfillment. You just want to help someone, so you kind of
Yes.
you get a lot of fulfillment out of helping. And you see, not just in trading, but you see these in other narcissistic talents like football players or boxing. They end up doing sponsorship deals or doing charity work or doing anything to kind of balance out that take, and that's just very natural. So it is actually a very sensible and wise play to do that if you are just trading and beating the other opponents in the market. Any zero-sum business will force out of you the yearning for to give back in some way, and that's just what happened. That's just naturally happens. So that's why a lot of good educators out there.
Yeah, when I managed money, I never felt as dirty and disgusting in my life. It was a lonely world.
Yeah.
It was me. It was really me against everyone else in my mindset.
Yeah.
And I was only helping someone that had a massive amount of wealth get wealthier.
Yeah.
And it just like, it sucked all the fun out of it. It sucked all the joy out of it. Like I tell you, I honestly felt dirty. Like I felt like it. And at the time I'm like, well, maybe this is what trading is, like an investor, because they put it out there where it's like, it's you against everyone else. Like if I win, Jason has to lose. And it's not necessarily the case at all, but that's the way you feel. And I just felt disgusting. And it wasn't until I started teaching, I declined the opportunity to teach for years, where you feel that connection where now it's like, hey, I'm working with people, I'm talking with people, we're helping each other out instead of me like trying to hide secrets. And then we're helping people achieve dreams. And I know you can vouch for this. Like when you get emails of people making it and they significantly changed their life, like you get like the chicken skin, and it's just like, it's a joy that it's an amazing joy. It's even better for me than like, we both give to a lot of charities. It's even better than that, because it's like with giving charity, you're just, you're giving money and whatever like that. With this, you've helped someone, grow a skill that they can use to help themselves for the rest of their lives and hopefully future generations as well. Yeah. I would say this too, we spoke a lot about, hey, business first, trading second, and there's so many variables in it. There are ways to do both. We always talk about creating your trading style around your life. If let's say you've already started this business venture and it's gonna, the upstart is gonna cost you this amount of time, you can always go to a trading method that doesn't require a lot of time. It could be a day trader that only looks at the chart a few hours a day. You can be a daily chart trader where you check end of day, where it's like the daily chore or something like that, where it's like, hey, I check at the market open each day, I get my signal or I don't get my signal, and then boom. So it's a little time investment. There's still a massive amount of investment in learning, but actually executing both. The cool thing about trading is it does give you that flexibility where you can adjust your trading style and make it fit around whatever your other goals are. But I think the main point we were talking about is kind of if you're in the learning process, you got to commit some significant time to learning and doing kind of the tasks that are associated with learning.
Yeah. And then I guess finally, just flip it on its head. If you are in a position where you've got loads of free time, you've got very little overheads and very little dependence, and you can basically dedicate a lot of time to trading, then you just weigh up the reward, right? So it's like, how long is it going to take me to learn to trade? What is my likely return on my trading in that time period? How much can I fund my account with? How much am I likely to generate from my trading? And then weigh that up with how long it's going to take to build your business, right? And if the trading's first, and you're like, wow, you know, I've got $500,000 sitting in $500,000 sitting in an account that I want to put into my trading account once I master it, and then after that I can generate a nice income. That might only take you 2 years, and then you think, oh, okay, well that's much better to do that. But it depends on your personal situation, right? And then once you do that, then you can have the free time and the more money to then put into a business, or just buy a business, or get someone else to build a business. You know, that's the better way.
There's good, just buy it.
So
just acquire it. Works done.
Just acquire a business. Buying a business is easier than building one, believe me. So there you go. I think that's enough advice. I don't know if you've got anything else to add, Akil, but I do want to keep it a little bit shorter because we started really late.
Yeah. We apologize for that. Zoom. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But yeah, a lot of stuff. Well, thinking of ideas for next week. We can focus on that at another time. But yeah, I think a lot of it depends. It's short. You know, I read something the other day on like human behavior, and there was like 10 laws, and one of it was the law of short-sightedness and whatnot. And I think having that longer term outlook before you do anything is important. Just sit back, grab a coffee, and just like take a second to kind of plan and organize things. And that will be a massive help in kind of figuring out when to do what and why to do what, and kind of putting it in an order that works best. So just take some time and think about big picture before you take any action on anything.
Awesome. Great advice. Really, really good. And I enjoy this topic because it's something that I did myself and I continually manage in some way or another. So really, really good, really important. And if you guys have got any other topics you want us to discuss, we'll come back next week and pick the best one. So type in the comments what you'd like a deep dive on. You know, what is something that you really wish that we could have a conversation on? If you could ask any trader a particular question, what would the question be? Put it in the comments, and until next week, take care, have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you then.
Thanks for joining us for the Trader Coffee Break. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to never miss a live discussion. Follow our hosts on social media, and remember, do nothing to gain perspective on everything. See you next week.